Good evening from Bachmann in Philadelphia, USA. And I say USA because I'm already seeing people here tuning in from around the world. We've got Ireland, we've got some other places. This is going to be a good show. So, welcome. Joining me as always is Tyler Haney.
How's it
And
going, everyone?
joining for the first time this fall, but not the first time this year, is Ray Buteau, also known as the Bachman. And Ray is our in-house narrow gauge and short line specialist. Right, Ray?
I'm guilty.
So this stream is going to be as we advertise. It's going to be all about narrow gauge products in all of the scales that we produce, which is of course starting from HON 30 using N scale track all the way up to large scale using G scale track. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go with our usual format, and we'll start with Tyler, who has some new products to show off. Then we'll talk a little bit more about the line, and then we're going to talk with Ray about giving some examples of things you can do with narrow gauge when you're modeling.
Yeah, let's get into it. So when we say new products, we're back to our usual format. Last month we were discussing the new mid-year announcements. These are products that were announced previously, but we've got some new samples in, or it's been a while since we have shown them off. But we're going to get right into the featured attraction tonight, which we revealed on Facebook a couple weeks back. And this is a brand new freight car for Owen 30, and that is the 3-bay open hopper. So this is the first engineering sample that we got here at Bachmann a couple weeks ago. And this is, of course, familiar to anybody who's a fan of the East Broad Top here in Pennsylvania. This is their design 3-bay hopper, which if I remember correctly, and Ray will rely on your expertise here, but there were some that were constructed brand new and some that were stretched out and extended from their existing 2-bay hoppers on the prototype.
Yeah, they did a lot of home built stuff. They did a lot of modifications. They were original kit bashers, and
That's
there
correct.
were differences in the hoppers themselves, and uh, they're quite a fascinating group.
Just for reference, here's the two bay. So we have the two bay in the line, which has been in the line for a number of years in and out. We do currently have it available in two different road numbers that they come in pairs for the East Broad Top, and for we've got consolidated narrow gauge railroads, and then what is the other one painted on lettered?
The other
For
one,
the
what?
2-bay, yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
we did it with the Acorn Herald. We did it with the initials,
mhm.
and we did it with consolidated railroads, which is just something I made up.
Right. Which
Mhm.
is great because a lot of narrow gauge modelers do tend to model proprietary railroads uh, rather than prototypes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I wrote an article about the consolidated that appeared in, I believe, the first Garden Trains annual. At one point, as the narrow gauge fever swept through the railroad industry, there was a proposed great narrow gauge trunk that went from Texas up the Mississippi, across Pennsylvania, and almost to Washington,
Really.
D.C. And that was supposed to connect with the Colorado one. So my brilliant idea was to say, what if it had worked? It didn't work, but had it worked, you could have had theoretically a coast to coast narrow gauge.
That could have
The
changed
narrow gauge,
the face of U.S. railroading.
well, the narrow gauge movement really got started in England, but in this country in 1872, there was a big narrow gauge convention, not like the one you and I went to in Pittsburgh. It
Or the
was
one
a real thing.
that just finished in St. Louis this last weekend.
And that's where the first one was. in 1872.
Huh.
And then in 1878, there was another in Cincinnati. And the idea was to really promote the narrow gauge so that new cities, towns, areas, groups would start a railroad in the narrow gauge rather than the standard gauge. The theory was lighter locomotives, smaller equipment, smaller rights of way, all of which would save money. The reason the movement collapsed was because of the fact that you had to transship at the end of the line, which is
Right.
okay if you have a boxcar with boxes, not so much if you have that hopper and have to shovel it out by hand.
Hmm.
And the other reason it failed was the principle of indivisibility. By that, it's meant you can divide the load in the hopper car you're holding into two or more, and you can divide a boxcar full of boxes into two or more, but you can't divide my big behind into two or more. And so the narrow gauge cars, and this is really a fascinating thing. The new Acela had one seat aisle and two, and that's how the narrow gauge was. But that would go halfway up the car, and then they'd switch. And so there was a jog in the aisle. Generally, the stove was there, and then so if it went 1 2, then it went 2 1. But that was one of the problems. And eventually, narrow gauges failed as a major player. They were used in all the places we love, uh, Colorado, Alaska, East Broadtop. They were used for logging, mining, and so forth. And so they exist to this day, but they were never a threat, as it were, to the standard gauge. Now, another thing, in the South during the Civil War, there were myriad gauges. And in the North, there was mostly the standard gauge of 4 feet, 8.5 inches. Erie had 5 feet, but now that's another story. But that helped the North win the war because all of the railroads interconnected by and large, whereas in the South, they had the same problems of transshipment. And so, it's a fascinating history, but it really makes me smile when I look inside the new Acela.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that historical context went all the way back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a,
I love the description of how the conventions went, because that almost sounds like the way proponents or people who enjoy different scales of model railroading today try and push for their scale.
it's exactly the same. Exactly. And in
Yeah.
those days, you had many, many locomotive manufacturers, many, many car builders, Jackson and Sharp, and so forth. And they'd all be at the convention and say, "You, Mr. Stern, are doing a railroad. You should do it in narrow gauge." And if you were foolish enough to say yes, you probably lost your shirt. The other thing is the big, uh, most common cause of accidents on the narrow gauge was trestle collapses because they built them to very light standards to save
Mhm.
money. Just like on interurbans, the big significant signature accident was head-on collisions. So everything has its own cost, as it were.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it
So
was a fun little tangent. We'll go back and talk about the three bay hopper a little bit more.
mhm.
So
Okay,
since this
sorry, we
was
got off the beaten track.
No.
yeah
That's what these streams are for. It's they're for getting off the beaten track, and maybe learning something or talking about something that we never would have covered otherwise.
yeah
Or off the narrow
absolutely
track.
There you go. Yeah.
yeah. hmm So with this three bay hopper, like we were discussing, they were stretched out by the East Broad top from their two bay hoppers. So we were able to reuse a couple parts from our existing two bay model, namely the stirrups, some of the handrails, the trucks. Everything else on this car is brand new, and it's to the same standard That's a two-bay hopper and our own 30 models. This is, of course, a spectrum level product, so you get all the separately applied grab irons and rungs. You've got your air brake detail here underneath the slope sheets for the hopper. Turn it around here so you can see the air brake detail as well as the hand brake there. It's got a die-cast center sill here for added weight to make sure it operates smoothly. And it does have a removable load. I'm going to see if I can do this. It is in here a little bit snugly.
This is why they come with those plastic loops when they come in the packaging, right?
Yeah, almost got it. And there we go. So you'll see it has a detailed interior with braces. This one popped out, but that's just because it's not using production grade adhesive, but this will all come fully assembled and be solidly put together. And then here is the removable load. And in terms of road names for this car, we are going to be doing 4 in this release. We, of course, have the EBT, East Broad Top. And after these cars saw their initial service on the East Broad Top before the tourist era, the EBT did sell off a couple of cars over the years. They went to other narrow gauge railroads across the country. So we're replicating 2 of those, which are now used for ballast service, the Durango and Silverton and the White Pass and Yukon. So those are 2 additional road names. And we also have a painted unlettered oxide red option as well. We know how popular the painted unlettered is with all the freelance L130 modelers out there. So that's the whole story on the 3-bay hopper. We're going to be shipping these out in 2026. We don't have a firm date beyond that just yet, just with the various changes to our production schedule we've been going through, but we can promise these will be out next year.
Yeah, these are very cool cars. And something else I just want to point out with the when you compare it with our 2-bay is it's not just simply a stretched 2-bay. The modifications that the real ones received, even the ones that were prototypically stretched from the 2-bays, did get changes in things like the brake details and stuff like that. And we have replicated those changes. So if you see how it looks on the 2-bay version here, you've just got the I'm on the wrong end here. You've just got the one cylinder there, whereas you've got the 2 cylinders on the 3-bay. So it's like Tyler was saying, it's a Spectrum quality car. It's a really nice high detail car that's follows the level of detail on the prototype as best as possible.
Just to clarify, if I may, there were very few of the 2-bays made. They were called rock cars.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe fewer than a dozen. They weren't stretched. They're still there. They may have home built these, but there were only, as I say, a very few, and there were lots and lots of the 3-bays. So they weren't made from 2-bays.
Oh, I was told differently by one of the historians I spoke with, but that they may have been incorrect.
Well, my understanding is there were a small number of the rock cars, the 2-bays, and then you can see still on the railroad, there are lots of 3-bays
Hmm.
with trees growing up through
Mhm.
them and so forth.
Yeah,
But
and actually,
it wasn't that kind of kit bash.
the ones that the East Broad Top, a lot of them are being I believe a lot of the ones that were in the that were had trees growing up through them have been hauled out since then, and they're undergoing restoration with the new the new life the railroad has been given.
Wonderful.
And actually,
Mhm.
that's also worth noting the East Broad Top number that we went with on the 3-bay will be one of the cars that is in operating condition on the East Broad Top now that they use in photo freights and stuff like that. So whether you're
Nice.
modeling the historic narrow gauge or the historic East Broad Top or the East Broad Top today, it'll be an appropriate car for it.
Okay, and I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure I'm not.
Well, if anybody in the comments knows, feel free to set us straight on that.
Mhm.
Tyler,
While
what
we're on
else do you
the
have for us?
while we're on the topic of the East Broad Top, This is something that we announced back in 2024, and again, this is on track to ship next year. We're going to show it off again just to remind everybody that it is on the way. This is something that's both representing the past of the East Broad Top and celebrating its return as a tourist railroad, and that's the Rock Hill Limited Passenger Set. This is a complete ready-to-run set with easy track speed controller. And this is our East Broad Top passenger train following up on our freight set for a few years ago. So first of all, we've got the locomotive here. It's our classic 0-30 260, lettered for the EBT with the number 9 and the name on the locomotive black log. And that is an authentic name and number for an East Broad Top 260.
Yep, they were around in the earlier days of the railroad before they got the 282s. Ray, do you have any more history on these locomotives?
Well, our 260 may not be a dead nuts on replica, but it's credible.
Mm-hmm. When did they operate these locomotives in reality? Would that have been I guess, in the early 20th century?
Um, yeah, and another characteristic of the narrow gauge is that their locomotives lasted for decades and decades. I'm not sure when they were built, probably in the 1890s or early aughts, but they lasted quite a long time.
No. Case in point
Yeah.
being the 282s in everyday service until 1956.
Yeah.
And then to accompany the 260, like I mentioned, this is kind of celebrating both the past and the present of the EBT. The two passenger cars that come in the set, these are actually the road numbers that are represented are for the brand new passenger cars, the newly built cars that were ordered by the modern EBT expressly for tourist service. So, like all of our 0-30 passenger cars, these feature a fully detailed interior. You've got open doors for the baggage compartment here, and track-powered lighting. So this is the number 17 Combine, which is on the current EBT is used as a ADA accessible car with a wheelchair lift. That could be a fun little super detailing project. And then we have the number 21, which is one of the 3 new coaches. And we decided to go with the colors, the lettering scheme, and the numbers for the newly built cars at the request of I won't say their name in case they don't want it out there, but a personal connection we have that is very involved with the current East Broad Top. We've had a partnership with them for several years now that these miles we've been putting out have been available in their gift shop, so we wanted to make sure to show our appreciation and recognize what they're doing now since the railroad reopened back in 2021.
Yeah. No, and it's really been fantastic to see, and the progress they've been making is just incredible. They're almost they've made it to the high school now, and the the next push will be, I guess, the bridge, the big bridge over the creek, and then it'll be on to Saltillo. Ray, have you been on the East Broad Top?
No, I have not.
Oh man, you got to get there.
I believe you.
We'll have to make it happen.
Yeah.
I went there myself. I'd driven through a couple times. The first time I went, since they were operating trains, was the opening weekend where they brought back steam with the number 16, which was restored to service for the first time since the 1950s. So that was really cool to see, just how far they had come.
Yeah. Yeah, I was there that weekend as well, and one of the awesome things about the East Broad Top is they have the Rock Hill Trolley Museum right next door too. So you have the narrow gauge, original historic steam from the area, and then you also have all these vintage trolleys running as well. So it's just an awesome place to go to. And Ray, you got to get there.
Okay.
Maybe we'll all go at some point.
I
Yeah,
swear it will be done.
excellent. I have one more upcoming model to show off an 0-30. I wasn't expecting it to be visible in the frame there, but the one I was kind of just fidgeting with for a little bit there. We were the 260, of course, is very recognizable. And we do have some new 260 road names that are available for pre-order right now. We'll show those next. But this is another announcement from 2024, maybe even 2023. It's still in the works. It's again scheduled to come next year, but that's the return of the 14-ton two-truck Stearns Heisler locomotive in 0-30. And this is the first time we've made it in about 10 years, I believe, and it has a number of upgrades. The most important one being metal gears, replacing the plastic gears we've used in the past for improved reliability. And it'll be available for the first time with Soundtrack Tsunami 2 pre-installed on board. I'm going to bring it in nice and close to the camera here and show off the prototypical articulated gear here. For those who don't know, the 0-30 line for Bachmann was really the brainchild and the passion project of the late Lee Riley, who was previously in charge of our product development. And Lee was always very insistent with these locomotives, with the Heisler, the Shea, the Climax, to make sure the model worked and operated exactly like the real locomotive did.
Yeah, the coolest part is that when you see them running and you actually see the gears turning.
Mm-hmm. This is actually a sample from the previous production run, so just as a representation of what will be coming. So we hope to have some samples showing off the new prototypical road names we have for this in the near future.
In the meantime, I'll bring up the catalog screen here for. Oh, we got not. That's a preview of what's to come. Let's see. How do we get the other window up here?
While you're getting that going, Matt, one thing I'll show you guys, I'll mention real quick. This is kind of like a hidden feature that we haven't talked about much, but with certain locomotives and rolling stock in our range, they were actually designed with multiple coupler pockets so that they can be used not only for 0-30, but for 0-3 gauges scale as well. So you would just remove the Easy Make coupler, remove the screw from underneath, and move it up to a higher pocket to accurately replicate the ride height for 0-3.
I'm gonna just let's see, save image. I'm gonna just download this and do this. I don't know why I can't get the web browser to show up as a shared screen, but I'm gonna save the image.
Yeah.
And bring it up as an image, since that does seem to be working. So
Yeah.
bear with me 1 second here.
I could also show I have a catalog in front of me to show you guys.
All right, let's see. I've got it up now. We'll see if this works. All right, there we go. So Tyler, why don't you explain a little bit about the paint schemes?
Sure. When we last did the Heisler, we did a couple of freelance road names, kind of similar to what Ray was talking about with the consolidated narrow gauge railroad. We had a couple of freelance road names that we've used on some of our 0-30 products, like the Midwest Quarry, and certain other ones I can't remember off the top of my head. But
Colorado
we wanted to
Mining,
take,
Midwest Quarry, a couple
yeah,
of lumbers. Lee and I just made those up.
yes. We changed it up for this run by doing some prototypical road names, which were actually owners and operators of the Stearns Heisler.
Nice.
So we've got the A.W. Stevens Lumber Company up top, which actually has the name A.W. Stevens Jr. on the bunker there. The Glen Union Lumber Company and the Pacific Coast Borax Company. That one was named Francis. So we got some new road name options for the Heisler. And then we also have the painted and lettered as well.
Beautiful.
These cover a good geographical range as well, with Pacific Coast Borax being in the obviously in the California desert. Glen Union Lumber, I believe, was in Pennsylvania. and A.W. Stevens. Again, that was a lumber railroad too, right, Tyler?
That's correct.
So a good selection of different uses there. So these are expected to be out. We're hoping these will be here probably by the later part of next year. And like
Yeah,
Tyler said,
sometime in 2026.
we'll share updates as they come.
Hmm.
So Tyler, is there anything else you have for us right now?
I just wanted to show off the one other upcoming 0 project we've got here. And this is some new road names for the 260 locomotive. This is going to be DCC ready release. These will have a 21 pin plug for the first time, so you can install the decoder of your choice. We've got a couple, one fantasy and a couple prototypical road names here as well. The Colorado and Southern making the return to the line, which was the original prototype for these locomotives. We've got a painted and lettered black, Denver South Park and Pacific, which is a brand new road name for this locomotive, and a North Pole and Southern Christmas Stream locomotive as well. 0-30, another reason behind starting the 0-30 line was Lee picked up on the fact that it was the perfect scale for Christmas villages from Department 56, Lemax, companies like those. So we've our 0-30 customer base. It's fun. We've got a mixture of the prototypical typical modeler, the freelancer, the kit basher, and you've got the Christmas enthusiasts as well that fits in for.
Yeah.
Yeah. No
Which is great.
samples to show for those right now, but they are available for pre-order.
Just gonna bring up there we go. I've got it on the screen here as well for a slightly clearer image of it. I'm particularly looking forward to that Denver South Park and Pacific with the Russian iron on the boiler. That's gonna look really nice.
Yeah, that'll be a sharp-looking one.
And there's been some discussion as to whether these are actually Rogers 260s. I think Tyler, did we find out these may have actually been a different manufacturer?
Yeah, I believe they were Baldwin's. There was a misinterpretation of some information we had, so it's
Well,
it's always been a Baldwin since the beginning. We were going to add some additional information there but it is in fact a Baldwin.
we'll update that in the next catalog.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a good amount of stuff we have coming out in OM30. Um, it's always exciting to add more products to the line because it's just such a cool, unique area of the hobby.
I have some clarification. It was a Cook 260.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We will update it accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these early these early narrow gauge locomotives, sometimes it's harder to track down information for these than it is for for say like like you were saying, like a Baldwin or like a major manufacturer's standard gauge locomotive.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I think now we're going to go into going to change things up a little bit rather than the recent arrivals. We're going to show off some of the modeling work and the possibilities that narrow gauge brings up with some of Ray's models.
Yeah. So I have some photos I'm going to bring up on the screen. You got a slight preview of this earlier. I'm going to bring Ray back onto the camera here, and Ray, why don't you give us a little bit of background into this narrow gauge layout that you built?
Well, we wanted to have an example of a shelf layout, and so this one is, as I recall, might be 2 by 8, and we wanted to do a seaport, and I can't see any of the things on my screen now, so I don't know where
I'll bring them
you
up so
are
you
or
can see
what
them.
we're looking at. I have a black screen.
So we'll start with let me know when you can see this.
Okay.
All right, so I've got the this is one of your early shots when it looks like the track work was just being completed.
That's the one on the pink foam.
Yes.
Okay, well, that was the initial. Oh, there we go. I can see it again. Well, I can see it on the TV. I can't see anything on the computer. Yeah, it was based on some switching layouts that I saw online. What we wanted to have was a switching layout so we could demonstrate the little geared engines and the little switchers, obviously. And as we went along, maybe you can go to a picture that's a little more complete. But we put some flat buildings on and sort of name them after people. That little station with a water tank is a kit bash. Um, we used a Hunter Lines trestle. Oh, there we go. The car float is Bar Mills. The truss bridge to the right is from Hunter Line. The barges are from Seaport Models. The big green flat is, I'll have to think about that. They're great kits, and I can't remember the name of the company. And the pictures in the back, I just painted it blue, and then we cut out some across the water background. Oh, I'm distraught that I can't remember the name of the company, but it'll come to me. Anyhow, keep going. We'll talk about some other things.
I just noticed on this picture I have up on the screen now that you actually had a standard gauge, narrow gauge, dual gauge interchange by the
Yes.
Green Warehouse. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we wanted to do that to just highlight the disparity in size between narrow gauge equipment. The stiff leg derrick is from Crow River. Uh, I forget who the little shed is from, in which I put uh, basically a donkey engine. I think that's a Crow River part two. You can see the Heisler there.
Mhm.
And the stone walls are from Scenic Express. And you can see that the glue factory there is Janisex fish glue. And down at the other end, you'll see Captain Riley's crab cakes. If you go to the other, yeah, down there, the one with the roof on is Captain Riley's crab cakes.
I think one of the great things that this layout shows is how you can adapt to such a small space and still get a really interesting scene with narrow gauge because obviously this is O
Yeah,
scale essentially,
yep,
um,
it is.
but you're fitting it into a shelf space here with a lot of switching and a lot of different industries all squeezed in, which you may not necessarily be able to accomplish with standard gauge.
And what I did, was put a similar size shelf behind the backdrop and made two end caps so that the train could run through the scene, go around behind, and come back. Because at a show, uh, running a switching layout is problematic when you're trying to talk to people as well.
Right.
And also, maybe amusingly, it wasn't at the time. One of my friends helping me out glued one of the switches in position, which sort of killed the switching aspect. But
Nice.
it looked good with the trains running through and, coming from off stage, running through the scene and going around the back.
Yeah.
The
No.
letters on the sign on the low part of the green building are those white letters that you see in the lobby of any place where they poke in, Dr. Smith, room 208 or something.
Oh, really?
So I bought a bunch of those, sprayed them red, made a wooden whatever you call it, billboard holder, and put those up there.
Oh, it definitely does the job. See if I can
Yeah, it
find
was fun.
another angle of it. Let's see.
And you
I
can
think.
see Captain Riley right there in the crab.
Yep.
There's a billboard in the middle that has his picture. with a fisherman's hat.
Oh, very cool. Let me see if I have a wider shot that would show that. I don't know if I do.
It would be from the other end.
Yeah. No, not quite.
Okay, well,
But yeah,
you'll
no,
have
this is
to
great.
take
And of
my
course,
word for it.
I'm going to go back to the very first photo of it here as well, because I think it's important to demonstrate here that we're also using Bachmann Easy Track, of course.
The whole thing is easy track.
And it just goes to show you what you can do. With Easy Track, obviously you get the prototypical roadbed height for HO for mainline, but for when you're scaling down to narrow gauge, it actually kind of gives it a prototypical road height for O scale narrow gauge that would not be as built up and high off the ground as a standard gauge mainline would be.
Yeah, I filled in those areas to bring the ground level up to tie level.
Mhm.
I do just see I just want to say I do see a comment that we are looking at the chat. So we always do a Q&A at the end, and we should probably start saying this at the beginning every time. I think we used to, and then we kind of dropped off from doing it. But we will be going through comments and questions at the end of the live stream. We will start at the top and go all the way down. We will try and answer as many questions as we can. So we are watching the chat. We will get to answering questions on that when we get to that part of the live stream. So we're not
Mhm.
we're not ignoring you guys by any means.
Yeah, we appreciate all the engagement, the comments, the questions. Pretty much everybody has been polite, so we appreciate you all tuning in. We're running a little bit long, just we're proud of what we're showing off here. We don't want to ignore you or anything.
Yeah, just trying to make sure we get everything covered and we get through everything without holding up everybody from dinner,
Yeah.
especially Ray.
True.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's just that layout's just an example of what you can do with even with a smaller space in ON30, and of course you depending on whether you're going up to large scale and you want to just have a small part of a yard you want to use, and like I say yard, I don't mean a rail yard, I mean a garden. Or if you're going down to HON30, you can do this in even half the space of that and still have the same level of flexibility for switching. Um, yeah, just an example of the flexibility of narrow gauge and the artistry, I should say, of Ray Buteau as well. So with that, we're going to we're going to look at a few more products before we head to the Q&A. We have some pre-production samples that I want to show off here, and I've got some in-stock products represented as well. We'll start with the pre-production models. This is for our HON30 line. So for anyone unfamiliar with our HON30 line, it's HON30/009, which is British narrow gauge, actually Welsh narrow gauge to be specific, which is a line that we started a couple of years ago and we're expanding now. We obviously had, just to bring people up to speed, we had the Taliflin steam locomotive as our first locomotive release in this scale, which is the namesake locomotive for the Taliflin Railway in Wales. Obviously famous for being the inspiration for the Skarloey Railway in the island of Sodor in the Thomas and Friends universe. We came out with this locomotive in 3 different paint schemes that it wore at different points throughout its actual life. And then we also came out with the passenger cars from the Taliflin Railway as well. And all of these are in our line and ready to order from your retailer now. So we're expanding in
Mhm.
that line with the Sir Hayden locomotive, which is the other main locomotive that they use on the Taliflin Railway alongside Taliflin. And this one is right now we've just got the unpainted sample. This will be painted in 2 different paint schemes that the prototype has worn, which is a red scheme based on its origin as a Corus Railway locomotive, and then which was a neighboring narrow gauge railway, and also in the green paint scheme that the Taliflin used as well. And you can see on
Mhm.
here some of the detail we've got on the domes and on the there's the coal bunker there, and You do have a fully see-through cab with windows as well, and a lamp on the front of the back, non-functional lamp due to the size. And yeah, that's going to be coming out. Hopefully, we'll have a painted sample in the not too distant future to show, but we're expecting to see these in 2026.
Yeah. We, I think we should explain some of the context as well. When back about 10 years ago, when the now retired Doug Blaine and he decided he wanted to get us into making the Thomas narrow gauge locomotives, he and Lee Riley took the time and expense to actually visit Wales and visit the Talyllyn Railway to get prototypical measurements and reference photographs for all these models. And they were initially used just for the Thomas characters, but there was always the plan to eventually do the prototypical Welsh narrow gauge versions as well. And a couple years ago, we decided the time was right. So with Doug's assistance, we started getting into this scale for the prototype as well. And we've been really happy with the reception and the response that these have gotten. It's been fun to do something that's a little bit out of the box for us. And it's naturally led to some requests and some questions about what about some American HO130 prototypes? We can't promise anything in that area. It would definitely take some time and financial investment to do all the new tooling for those models, but it's something that we are seeing the interest and the request for, and we're keeping it in mind.
Yeah, because you've got the disadvantage with HON30 for the the U.S. market as opposed to the UK is that obviously the majority of U.S. narrow gauge was 3 foot, and HON30 is close to replicating 2 foot. Um, so while we could replicate some 3 foot gauge models in HON30, the track would look a little small. That being said, of course, we know there's Maine, the whole network of narrow gauge railroads in Maine. There's plenty of industrial railroads that had 2 foot gauge operations. Yeah, it's certainly something that we're aware of interest in, and like Tyler said, there's no promises, but there's potential there.
Mm-hmm.
So, in addition to the Talyllyn and the Sir Hayden locomotive, we also have done a number of rolling stock items, a couple of which the only ones that have been delivered so far are the passenger cars, but we have others in the works right now, including this is the Festiniog designed gunpowder wagon, which, as it sounds, was used to carry gunpowder for, I would assume it was for quarrying.
Yeah, it would make sense.
Rather than for
There was also
purpose.
these. I believe was it the Festiniog or the Chorus? I believe during World War II, they were taken over by the British War Department, and they were used for various military activities.
Mm-hmm. I'm not actually familiar on that that part of their history. I have to look that up. But yeah, this is the gunpowder wagon. We are going to be releasing a Thomas and Friends version of this first, but as I'm sure you can probably already guess, we will be doing prototypical versions of this, prototypical paint schemes for this in the future as well. So watch that space. And we don't have samples of these, but we also are doing another Festiniog car. We're doing they call it it's an open coal wagon. We've called it a high side wagon. We have that's another model that should be coming out hopefully in the not too distant future. Probably I would estimate summer 2026. We're doing 2 different road numbers for that, and we do have more HON30 or 009 Welsh rolling stock planned for the future as well. So it's a growing line. And behind me here, I also have some of our in-stock ON30 and large-scale narrow gauge products as well, which I'll do a brief overview of here. I'll bring Tyler and Ray back up here so we can If anybody wants to input anything about them, you're more than welcome to. Start here with our closed streetcar. This is a fun one because it's obviously, as you can see here, it's very suitable for Christmas displays. You can run it on a a linear piece of track on your mantle, along with your Department 56 buildings or Limex, and it looks fantastic. But there is precedent as well in reality for narrow gauge transit modeling. That there were a number of systems around the country were actually not built to standard gauge. They were built to a narrower profile. And we also have a couple of newer rolling stock editions. We have we're talking about main narrow gauge, which I've seen. There's a lot of main narrow gauge is getting a lot of love in the comments. We do have the Sandy River and Rangeley Lakes, called the wood side door caboose, and this is based on a Sandy River and Rangeley Lakes prototype. We also have offered it in other paint schemes as well, including the Milwaukee Road subsidiary that was narrow gauge. Do you remember I always forget what the title
The
of that one
Slim
is.
Princess. It was called the Slim Princess.
That wasn't that the Southern Pacific one.
That too.
Yeah. Bellevue and Cascade was the Milwaukee Road
There
narrow
you go,
gauge
yeah.
line.
And then we're also doing a couple of painted unlettered versions of this as well. And one of my favorite things about this car is you slide the door open here, and you actually have some detail in there. You have the wood flooring, and there is. See if I can get the right angle here. There are seats visible in there as well.
Yeah, you've got a fully detailed interior. The end doors open on that caboose as well.
Yep. Yeah, it's a really nice model. And then we also have our open excursion car, which we recently released in this roofless configuration. This is something that's more common to see today on narrow gauge railroads than in the past. These were the result of railroads using what they had to build passenger carrying equipment when the railroad tourist industry really took off. And this particular car, I would say, bears the closest resemblance to the open excursion cars used on the big trees and Pacific Railroad. They have the standard gauge one and the narrow gauge one. It's the
Roaring
Roaring
Camp and
Camp
Big
Big
Trees.
Trees. That's it. Yeah, Big Trees and Pacific, I think, is the standard gauge one they have alongside it. Although I may be wrong with that too. But yeah, we've done this in a number of prototypical road names for modern narrow gauge survivors, such as the Combers and Tultic, Durango and Silverton, East Broad Top, and White Pass and Yukon. And I will say that our Scenescape sitting O-scale passengers look fantastic in this. And we also have some train sets in ON30. If you want to get somebody started in narrow gauge modeling, show in one in the box here. This is the White Pass and Yukon. Really attractive paint scheme, true to the prototype, with a 260 locomotive like the ones that we were talking about earlier, in a actual White Pass road number. This comes with a oval of easy track and speed controller, power pack, instructions, everything you need to get somebody started in narrow gauge model railroading without having to buy extra parts. And we also have an East Broadtop freight set as well, which will be a very nice companion to the passenger set when the passenger set arrives. With the 260, this one's called Rock Hill. Whereas the other one's called Black Log. That comes with the hopper, which is over here, and tank car, which is authentic to the East Broadtop by number. Still in their freight or photo freight roster today, and a really nice little short caboose as well. Then in large scale back here, we have if I put everything out on the table, there'd be no room for anything else. So I only have a a choice selection of things here, but and I'm going to just go back to solo on the screen here so we can see it. Have a log. These are called what are these called? Are these called spine cars or what are these called?
Skeleton log
Skeleton
car.
cars. I knew there was some anatomy to the name. Um, and this comes with a actual load of separately produced logs that you can have loaded or unloaded on the car with actual metal chains to hold them in place. We have a number of other cars in the line that I won't go over right now, but check BachmannTrains.com for the full list of all of our large scale narrow gauge freight cars. Right behind this here, and I'm not going to pick this up because of the size and weight, but we do have the 260 locomotives in large scale, which is obviously a very different design of 260 to the ON31s. And this particular model is the Emma Nevada for the Grizzly Flats Railroad, which was Ward Kimball's railroad. A good friend and animator. I believe he was an animator, I think, right? For
Yeah, he
the
was one of
Walt
the
Yes.
Disney.
earliest animators for Walt Disney.
And he has to be one of the coolest rail fans in history for actually having a full size functioning railroad in his backyard, which
Hmm.
he operated on. It was a 3 foot railroad. When he had the Grizzly Flats, Emma Nevada. The Grizzly Flats is the name of the railroad. And then he had passenger cars, which we've replicated here. I don't have that one up since we can't really see it.
Hmm.
Bring that over.
Yeah, it was really the Walt Disney's friendship with Ward Kimball and seeing the Grizzly Flats that kind of reignited his childhood love of railroads, and that led him to he built his own backyard live steam railroad, the Carrollwood Pacific, and
Mm-hmm.
that also inspired the Disneyland Railroad, having the train around the park.
Yeah, yeah.
Our very good friend Michael Brogy would come to World's Greatest Hobby, and he had a great slideshow of all of Walt's stuff and also Ward's. Interestingly, now those two locomotives, our 440 and 260, were actual models of two locomotives that ran in the Philadelphia World's Fair big
Huh.
exposition. They ran around. They were built in Philadelphia by Baldwin, and that's why we call them centennials. And they were pretty standard, and it was very close to Ward's engine and very close to the Eureka. But they're really nicely done representations. The 440 has operating indoor inside valve gear too, so they're really really accurate, and they're quite beautiful models. And they are in 1 to
Another,
20.3.
yeah, another fact about that Centennial Exposition that was back in 1876. Bachmann, of course, was founded in 1833 here in Philadelphia, and Bachmann was an exhibitor at that Centennial Exposition. We were making ivory products at the time, so
Yeah,
long
buggy
before we,
whips, corset stays.
And
yeah,
something we've
long
long
before
since
we
moved
even
away from.
thought of model trains.
Yeah. And a cool fact, another cool fact. I love this about the Carol, or not the Carrollwood Pacific, the Grizzly Flats Railroad, is he actually would get complaints from his neighbors when they were out running trains and blowing the whistle. So just imagine being neighbors with somebody. You're in a a high end Los Angeles neighborhood, and you have a full size working industrial railroad right across the tree line from you.
I'm sure
So
he didn't get any noise complaints.
no, he did. He did.
I know, I was
I
being
was
facetious.
I was visiting the North Jersey Live Steamers one day with Tom Piccirillo for Micromark, and they were telling us that the neighbors there were complaining about the trains. And they have many sizes running there in Live Steam. And I said to him, "You mean all these people like us who would otherwise be out in the world? We're all here behind a fence. Isn't that better?"
No comment. All right, so since we're approaching an hour now, I think this is going to be a good time for us to pivot to our Q&A. So I'm going to scroll to the top. Tyler, if you want to start from the bottom like we usually do, and Ray, I know you may not see the comments where you are, but if you hear any comments that we read out that you want to interject on, feel free to.
I shall.
All right. Let's see what we've got here. I want to just say, first of all, now that we've made our mid-year announcements, we won't have any brand new product announcements until next year in the 2026 catalog, but we will, of course, make sure to post all about those and talk about them on the show. We can't say what's going to be or what's not going to be in the catalog because, in fact, we haven't completely planned it out yet. We're having a meeting in the coming weeks to discuss what's going to be added to the catalog. So can't say any more beyond that because we're not sure.
We're as excited as you are to find out what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is. We should note that I know there seems to be somewhat of an expectation with these live streams that we may be announcing a new product on them. That's just not really our format. So when we do these live streams, we'll always show what's new and interesting in terms of samples that have come in, and we'll talk about products that are upcoming. But yeah, typically if we're doing a live stream, it's not going to be a surprise announcement. But they will be coming in the catalog in just under 3 months now. Just under 3 months, just over 3 months.
I have a question, and Ray, maybe you can shed light on this. What the prototype is for the shorty center cupola caboose, like the one in the East Broad top set that Matt was holding up.
That's a good question.
It's basically a generic model. I don't recall having a specific prototype. There are so many short cabooses, and particularly in the world of narrow gauge, there was so much home built equipment on the various railroads. And I don't recall that we used a specific caboose for that, but rather a generic, credible model.
There's been a couple of variations on that as well. We've got a logging caboose that we did a few years ago that doesn't have a cupola. We had a offset cupola design. It does bear a bit of a resemblance. I think there's a Durango and Silverton number 500 caboose that's a similar size. The trucks are spaced a little bit further apart, but it is a 4-axle rather than a 2-axle. So there may have been some inspiration taken there.
Our large scale 1 to 20.3 long caboose was a very accurate model of the Rio Grande caboose. And they're really hard to get now. They're really collectible. But that one is highly detailed and very authentic, top to bottom, stem to stern. It's a great model.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I have seen a lot of requests for bringing back primarily ON30 models that we've made in the past, and that's something that we do bring models back. So if you have a certain model you want to see come back, definitely keep letting us know because that helps us know what may do better as a returned item. And we've started doing that already with some stuff. Obviously. We have we have a couple of new announcements from last year that we didn't cover actually when we were talking about ON30, but we have a track cleaning tank car coming out, which will be using the same tooling as our tank car that we did run previously as a non-track cleaning tank car with a few new road names. And we are doing a version of the stock car as well. With this one, will have bobbing animal heads, an animated stock car. So we do have iterations of models returning to the line, and that's certainly not going to be the last of that.
We'll go a little bit off topic here. Not off topic necessarily because it still concerns our product, but not narrow gauge. if anybody has questions not related to narrow gauge, we'll be happy to answer them as well. But this question is about the N-scale 19th century 460 and the progress and why we're doing it. So I have some good news to share in the 19th century 460. We don't have a sample of it yet, but it is currently being tooled up. The molds are being made. They're going to be assembling the first sample to send to us for evaluation. And right now, I personally have been putting the finishing touches on the production artwork. So our plan is once the production artwork is all done and has been sent over to the factory and approved by them, we're going to have a social media post in the next week or two revealing the artwork for the 460. Just to let people know it is on its way. It's making progress. Not going to be coming in again until 2026, but it is being actively working on, and we're making good progress with it. And the reason for releasing it in N scale, we wanted to have a 19th century locomotive in N scale because we haven't had one in some time since we discontinued the 440 American. And we looked into the possibility of redesigning, upgrading the 440 American by having the motor inside the locomotive instead of having it tender drive with the exposed drive shaft that was causing a lot of reliability problems. And ultimately, we talked to our engineers. They could not find a motor that was small enough that could be put inside the locomotive at N scale and still be able to run it on the same speed controllers and power supplies. So we decided to pivot. We decided we'll go with a slightly larger prototype that's still 19th century, but you can still fit the motor inside there. You can do DCC and sound, and that was why we went with a 460. And the reason that we did that we're releasing that in N scale first is we already have a 19th century prototype in HO with the 440 American and some of the other locomotives that we previously released, like the Baldwin and Richmond modern 440s. I believe our Baldwin 460 that's in the line right now was from around the 1890s. So that said, the model that we're currently doing in N scale, it's not out of the question that it could come to HO scale in the future. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, having seen the artwork, it's going to be a really, really nice looking locomotive. I'm scrolling through here and I'm seeing a lot of comments suggesting different steam locomotives, primarily steam locomotives in ON30 or in large scale. Keep the suggestions coming. We love to see them. And just because you may not see what you suggested come out in our line, within a year or two of suggesting, we are compiling all the suggestions and making note of what seems to be the most popular, and we do use that to help base our decisions on what to do with new tooling.
Mm-hmm. Following up on the ON30 track cleaning tank car, which Matt was talking about, had a suggestion to release it without. We did previously in the first run do these as just regular tank cars. It's been some time since they've been released, but they can be found secondhand. Our plan is also with the track cleaning car that we will be make it easy to remove the track cleaning mechanism and convert it into a regular tank car. We do have the trucks available in separate sales that can be interchanged. So we're trying to make it easy to remove the mechanism and just use it normally. Now, as far as out of the box, standard tank car, that's something we'll look into bringing back in the near future as well.
I have a couple of Thomas and Friends questions. One is just asking on a release date for Salty. I don't have one yet. All I can say is 2026. But Salty will be coming back. And I also have a question about whether the tariff situation has affected the chance of getting Duncan getting reconsidered in 009 H130. The tariff situation doesn't have any bearing on that whatsoever, unfortunately. So, it's certainly something that we will looking to doing again at some point, but it's not. The tariffs don't have any bearing on that.
Mhm.
It says, this one, I got a question here. Are the HO locomotives in your complete train sets that you sell in hobby and retail stores DCC or just DC? They're primarily DC because that does help keep the cost down to make it affordable for people to enter the hobby. But we do offer some DCC sets and actually some DCC sound sets in HO scale as well, and in N scale. But since this is estimate HO, I'll go over those briefly. So we have a couple of sets here. We've got the Echo Valley, and we've got the Thunder Chief, and these both come with DCC and sound, and they come with a DCC Easy Command Plus controller as well. So there you get DCC and sound out of the box with a really nice looking train. And we have DCC but no sound with the digital commander here. Excuse my my markup on that. And this one comes with 2 locomotives, and it comes with a siding as well, so you can actually do some switching and run the 2 locomotives separately right out of the box as well.
There you have it.
Tyler, do you have any?
Have a
Do we have an ETA on the or an estimated ETA? Let's say an ETA for the ETA for the
yeah,
EM1 or the or the new Shay.
not beyond 2026.
Mhm.
So a lot of things to be scheduled. For those who haven't heard, when the tariffs on Chinese imports initially hit, we had to put all shipping on hold, which meant we had to put production on hold for 6 weeks until the rates were reduced. So it pushed back our entire production schedule, and we rescheduled certain things to make sure the products that we needed the most were getting the priority in the production queue. So a lot of things are still yet to be rescheduled, including some of those new announcements from the last year or two. But we'll make sure to update on those as soon as we can. And I also have a suggestion here, and this will actually give me a chance to pivot onto another narrow gauge topic. Had a question. A lot of narrow gauge modelers use the N scale Percy chassis. Will the chassis by itself ever be sold on the parts store? I can tell you, and you may already be aware of this, to the person who asked, we do have certain parts of the N scale Percy available individually. We've got the drive wheel assembly, the shell, the motor, the cylinders. Our parts supply is, for the large part, it's based on as we get them from the factory after production has been completed. So they elected to send each component over individually. We do use those for our repairs as well, and then we put them on sale to the public as well. So we don't have a fully assembled chassis without the body shell, but we do have all the parts on there a la carte to do that kind of project. And that allows me to go into, for those of you who are interested in kit bashing, many of you may be aware of this, but for those who are not, we do have a fully stocked online parts store. Our parts department is adding new parts every day for both old and new models. For those who don't know, the address for the parts store, Matt, maybe you can bring this up on screen real quick, is estore.bachmanntrains.com.
I wasn't able to bring up
And
my
you'll know.
browser at all, so I don't think I'll be able to do it.
Okay, so I'll kind of just you'll just have to imagine it or kind of tab over and look at it as I'm talking about it. So you go to estore.bachmanntrains.com.
Let me bring it
That
up on
brings
my
up all
phone.
the
I'll do it the old-fashioned way and just show it on screen.
yeah. It'll bring up all the categories for our parts. We do have, of course, the main Owen 30 parts section, which has all of the mechanical and cosmetic parts for all of your Owen 30 locomotives. We can't promise that we're going to have every part you need in stock. Sometimes parts do sell out. If there's a part that you don't see or you see and is listed as sold out, you can always send our parts department an email and make a request. The more requests we get, the more we are aware of the demand, and we can, in some cases, contact the factory and ask them to make a new run of parts, even if the model's not currently in stock. But we try to keep everything as well stocked as we can for all the different L-130 locomotives we've made since the beginning.
This is showing just an example of all the parts available for the Forney right now, which, as many of you probably know, has not been in the line for a number of years. So,
Yes.
good example of what we have on hand.
Yeah. But then beyond just the basic parts for repairing your locomotive, it's also a great resource for kit bashers. You saw there was not just the mechanical parts, but all the cosmetic parts as well: boilers, smokestacks, bells, whistles, cabs, whatever you can think of. Those are there are certain limitations on certain parts, but for the most part, you are free to purchase those and order and purchase them for your kit bashing needs. We've got parts for all the scales: HO scale, O scale, N scale, because you'll be surprised, how you can adapt, apart from a different scale into another scale you're modeling. And we also have a dedicated all-scale kit bashing section, which has an O-30 subsection. This is where we kind of put our various warehouse finds and teardowns from damaged models. You'll find a couple of parts that we don't have normally in stock. They're in more limited supply, but we have things such as we have some limited freight car body shells, and all sorts of different parts that aren't in our normal parts supply. So it's kind of a whatever's it's your lucky day, whatever you can find in there for your kit bashing needs. So again, that address is estore.bachmannchains.com for our parts department online store. If you don't see the part you need, make sure to send us an email so that we can gauge demand and reorder those parts. Or in some cases, our parts department are really good about trying to find the part, even if it's not publicly listed.
I saw a question about I believe it was about the 260, the ON30 260, which I don't think was covered when we talked about it. I apologize if it was, Tyler, but they're asking whether it was speaker equipped, and it is speaker equipped. So it will not come with DCC and sound installed, but all you will need is the decoder of your choice, and it already has a speaker built in. You won't have to do any of that additional setup. Actually, another Thomas and Friends question here as well. Is Bo going to be a permanent addition to the line? Bo, from the start, was going to be a limited release. He's a smaller character, so not a permanent addition to the line.
We do still have him in stock, so make sure if you want to get Bo, make sure you take the chance. 'Cause he'll be around for a bit, but he won't be around forever.
Trying to catch up. There's a lot of comments in this. This is a good show because a lot of you guys have tuned in and been engaging in the chat, and we really appreciate it. We love to see it. Have we covered anything to do with NG7 yet, Tyler?
I haven't seen anything yet.
Okay, I do see one question here about that. So obviously, Bachmann UK started their own version of ON30 called NG7, which is scaled to British O gauge. We know there's been some interest in that on this side of the Atlantic, and it's something we're not opposed to looking into. It's something that we're looking to see if we can potentially maybe at some point bring over here, but it's not something that's on the immediate horizon. But they are beautiful models.
I'd like to say something while there's a break in the action. I have my iPhone in my lap and it's shooting up, so it looks like I'm taking a nap. And then when I look over the computer, It looks like my eyes are rolling up in my head. But I have the TV, the phone, and two computers. Nothing syncs. And so if Matt says something and I look like I'm asleep, I'm not asleep, but I'm not responding to that either. It's just all out of whack. So just so you know, I'm really here and involved.
Yeah,
Uh, it wasn't. I just figured that's how you just normally are. So
yeah.
No, I'm
We,
awake now.
yeah. I was made aware, and I appreciate the person who pointed this out because it doesn't look like the comments were showing up on my end, but it looks like we were only getting YouTube comments, and there were some additional Facebook comments as well. So I'll try to hint some of those real quick.
yeah, I
Uh,
am seeing some of those on mine. So I've been trying to follow up with those as much as possible.
yeah. I have a question about the 460, and I believe this is referring to the N scale one. If it's a generic Baldwin 10 wheeler or something else. This one in particular, the basic design is based on a Union Pacific prototype. It will have some interchangeable parts such as the stack, the headlight, and a few other details to make it closer to the prototypes, but it is primarily based on a Union Pacific design.
I have a
I have a
question
question
about.
for VRL
Oh,
Cap Cars. Sorry, Matt. I'll
yeah,
let you
go
go
for it.
next. They are in production at the moment. We think we're going to get them right at the end of this year, if not most likely January 2026.
And I've got a question here also pertaining to a Canadian road name, and that's will there ever be a large scale Dash 9 in Canadian Pacific colors? There will not be because the Canadian Pacific Railroad did not roster Dash 9s. I believe they rostered AC 4400s and similar locomotives, but not Dash 9 specifically. That being said, we are doing a Canadian National version in the next run, so look out for that. Question about whether we'll be getting Iowa Interstate QJs and N scale. That'd be pretty cool to see. Not sure if that's going to happen though.
It is a follow up to a question that Bachmann China just released their N scale QJs. Yeah, I'm surprised that I wasn't aware of that. They Bachmann China kind of does their own thing. We have seen the N scale QJ. We didn't realize it was out on the market now. So congratulations to them. That is their, as far as I'm aware, their first N scale model.
Yeah. All right. I think this may be a good place to wind down the stream. I know there may be some more questions. We'll try and catch up, going back through social media in the next couple of days and answer anything that we see that we haven't answered yet. But we're hitting the hour and 20 minute mark, so I think this is probably a good time to stop the stream. What do you think, Tyler?
I think so. As always, if you have a question that didn't get answered or you're watching the stream after the fact, you're not watching it live, leave a comment on the Facebook post or the YouTube video, or you can send us an email at info@bachmanntrains.com.
Absolutely. Thanks to everyone for coming out or coming out to their computer or phone, but for joining us on the live stream. And it's always fun to engage with our customers and see what the suggestions you have are, and just to talk trains and Bachmann model railroading with you guys. So we'll pick it all up again next month with we've got some new samples that are not in air gauge that have come in recently that we're excited to show off. But we'll leave that for next time. And so we'll see you all later.
Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Ray.